Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Hi there. Are you one of those beginner guitarists who'll do absolutely anything to avoid playing bar chords?
That's impossible!
Well, if you are, you've come to the right place. The E-shaped bar chord gets its name from the open E chord down here. The root note of this open chord is the low 6th string, which is an E. Now, we normally play the E chord using the 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers. What we're going to use now is 2, 3 and 4. And this frees up the 1st finger and it is now the bar, hence the name bar chord. So we've got this here, we've got this 1st finger freed up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move everything up 1 fret. Okay, so that like that. So you still have the same shape here, 2, 3 and 4. And now this bit here, it's going to go right across the 6 frets. No, it's not. It's going to go right across the 6 strings, right? So it's covering all of those, the E, the B, the G, the D, the A and the E. And the thing you'll notice is that it's not flat. It's not flat like that. It's slightly at an angle. And you're going to be using this particular part of the finger here, if you can see that. Not that bit there. So you're going to be using that part here. Bar chords need strength. Okay, you need a lot of strength, especially when you're playing them on an acoustic guitar. And so when you're pressing down, you're also using your thumb. And your thumb is really quite important here because it's going to be adding pressure going that way while your fingers are pressing down that way. And this will help to make the chord sound out. Now, you don't want to be pressing so hard that you lose circulation in your hands. That's not really what you want. But you want to be pressing enough so, as I said, the strings ring out. This is one of the many reasons why guitarists give up on bar chords. They often say things like, "Oh, I'll never get it. It's too hard. It hurts my fingers." And the truth is, yeah, it is difficult. It will take time. So the thing with bar chords is patience. And don't forget, all of your guitar heroes have gone through the same thing. So we've seen the shape, we've seen what the 1st finger does, but what does this chord actually sound like? Whenever I learned a new chord when I was starting out, I always put the shape on and then played each string individually to make sure the chord was sounding good. So here we go. This is what I would do. So that sounds okay. Now sometimes with a shape like this, the fingers can dampen other strings, they can mute other strings. So you really do need to make sure that you're, arching everything and that, for example, the 4th finger isn't touching the G string. Like that. Now be patient. Okay, be patient. If it doesn't sound right just now, don't panic. There's also another common problem that beginner guitarists have, and that's to do with length. Now, I've got short fingers, and when I was younger, they were even shorter, but it didn't really cause a problem. And the main reason is because I practiced. And, as I said, beginner guitarists often give up on bar chords for a number of reasons, and also the finger length is another problem. But don't let it stop you. You keep practice, you keep playing, you'll get it right. If you want to see how to use this E-shaped bar chord in a classic slice of rock and roll, then click or tap the screen here. Thanks for watching, happy strumming. Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching, happy strumming. When I was starting out and learning that A-shaped bar chord with that double bar, I got really sick of my chord sounding like this. And if you feel the same and you want to go from this to this, then keep watching. For a long time, I really couldn't play that A-shaped bar chord with that double bar. And one of my favourite songs at the time was Paul McCartney's Press from his Press to Play album. I love that album. And it has E flat in there. And the only way to do it was with the A-shaped bar chord, because that's how he did it. But I couldn't do it, not with that double bar. But then I found this workaround and it changed my life. And that's what I want to show you. The A-shaped bar chord gets its shape, its name from the open A chord up here. And you'll see that I play this chord using the 2nd, 3rd and 4th fingers. And some of you may use 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers. But for this workaround, you're going to need 2nd, 3rd and 4th. This part here, the nut, is basically the bar when playing open chords. And as you move chords further up the fretboard, it's your first finger that kind of takes over from this thing here and becomes the nut. The chord that I needed and was killing me until I found this workaround was at the 6th fret. And this is where knowing the notes on the fretboard can be very, very helpful, because to find the A-shaped chord that you need to know the notes on the 5th string, the A string. And for the E flat chord, we have to go A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E. So the chord will be at the 6th fret. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be moving this part, we're going to be moving the neck all the way up to the 6th fret, and it's your first finger that, as I said, takes over, and we're going to be covering just the top 5 strings there. Your tip of your finger is going to basically just touch the low 6th string there and dampen it and mute it. So you've got, as you can see here, like that there, and you're just going to be using that part of the finger. It's not flat, you're not playing flat like this, because it doesn't work like that. So you kind of got the finger at an angle, and you're going to be playing, you're going to be playing those strings there. Now the next thing we need to do is put the rest of the A chord on, and these are the fingers, and we just go like this. So there they go in place, just as they were there, but we're up here now. And it should sound like this. So fingers, don't fail me now. Ah, there we go. Each string is ringing out nicely. Excellent stuff. I found this version of the A-shaped bar chord really, really helpful, especially when I was starting out and when I needed those E-flat chords or D-flat chords. And I remember I have a friend who seemed to write a lot of songs that used E-flat. The other thing it helped me with was learning the notes on the fretboard. And as I said earlier, if I wanted to play E-flat, I had to know where E-flat was, where the note was, where the root note was. And, you know, as I said, A, B, C, D, E-flat is here. So it really helps to learn the fretboard. And if you're wanting to know the notes on the A string, then I've got a little video for you. You can check the link down there in the description. The only downside of playing this particular version of the A-shaped bar chord is as you go further up the fretboard, it gets more difficult to play the chord. So at E-flat, at the 6th fret, sorry, for E-flat, it's still sounding pretty good. For the F, pretty good. But then as you get to a little bit higher, it becomes more difficult. You've got to put more force down on there. And then you start to get this, which is no good. So that's the only downside. So this workaround of the A-shaped bar chord, it really helped me to play things like E flat, and E flat is a pretty common chord. However, it didn't help me with this one. But these videos will help you with that chord. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Bar chords are chords that will move you away from beginner guitar status and will get you playing different rhythms and different styles too. So this is an E-shaped bar chord, but what exactly does that mean? When you're down here, you're at the open position and this is an E chord. And the root is here on this 6th string, the low E string. The chord changes as you move up the fretboard, so you get a different chord. So at the bottom here we've got E. To make the bar chord we now need to go from 1, 2 and 3 to 2, 3 and 4. When you move up the fretboard we get a different chord. And knowing the notes on this low E string becomes really important. Now I've got a short video about the notes on the low E string. I'll leave a little link down below in the description for you. The open E chord is like this, as you know. Now changing to form the bar chord, we need to do this. So we're using 2, 3 and 4. First finger is freed up. Move it up 1 fret. Bar the here. And what we now have is an F chord. Because this note here, the first fret of the low E string, is an F. Moving up 2 frets, this is a G. This is a G note. Moving up another 2 frets, this is an A. Up to the 7th fret, this is a B. Up to the 8th fret, that's a C. Up to the 10th fret, that's a D. And then we are up to the 12th fret, which is an E, which is exactly the same chord as down here. Let's try moving this E-shaped bar chord up the fretboard from the 1st fret all the way up to the 12th fret. Sliding up is really important, and one of the things that you want to do when you are sliding up is to release your grip. Okay, so don't take your fingers off the fretboard. So if you're on the F chord, before you slide up, release, and that will stop the sound. Slide, press down, and play. Okay, don't take your fingers off and do that, because that'll take more time to get you back onto the fretboard again. 1, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. A, 2, 3, 4. B, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. E. That's actually pretty difficult at the top there, because you know the fingers get all bunched up like that, and yeah, it doesn't sound too good. Not too good, but it's not often that I play up there, so it's not really a problem. However, D is good, C is good. So generally, the further up you go in the fretboard, the more difficult it gets to play, and especially on an acoustic guitar. So why don't you go back, play along with me a few times. So I've just looked at the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 8th, 10th and 12th frets, and of course there are chords between those frets. But for this lesson, let's be natural. If you want to see how to use this E-shaped bar chord, then click or tap the screen here. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Watch carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you spot the key to changing between this open chord and bar chord? Did you spot it? Did you spot the key to changing between that open chord and that bar chord? Well, let me show you. If you're moving away from open chords and getting into bar chords, fantastic, because bar chords offer up a whole new level of possibilities to get cooler sounds out of your guitar. I think it's a really good idea, first of all, to get used to transitioning between open chords and bar chords. You know, as a kind of a bridge between learning your basic open chords and bar chords. In this beginner's guitar tutorial, looking at transitioning between an open chord and bar chords, we're going to look at 4 things. How to form an E-shaped bar chord. Secondly, the importance of your thumb, your third finger. Thirdly, how to transition between a bar chord and a very common open major chord. And fourthly, stick around because I'm going to show you a classic chord progression to help you crush those transitions. So an E-shaped bar chord looks like this here, and it gets its name, the E-shaped bar chord, from, and if we take this off here and move it down 1 fret, this is an E chord, just with slightly different fingers. And all we are doing is shifting everything up 1 fret and putting this first finger down across all of the 6 strings and putting the rest of the chord on. So we're using the first finger here, the second finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string, the 3rd and 4th fingers are on the 3rd fret, the 3rd fret of the A string, and the little finger is on the 3rd fret of the D string. And this is a movable chord because you can move it. So here at the 1st fret, it's an F chord because this note here is where it gets its name. This note here, the 1st fret of the low E string, is an F. And then if we move up 2 frets, we've got F, F sharp, and G. So at the 3rd fret, if we play this E-shaped bar chord, we have a G chord. And as I said, you get the chord from this low E string. So if you know all of the notes on here, you know every bar chord that you can play here. Now to practice this chord, sometimes it's quite difficult practicing it down at the 1st fret. So playing it a little bit higher, sometimes at the 5th fret, which gives us an A chord because that's F, G, and A. At the 7th fret, it's a B. So playing it higher up is an easy way to make sure you're getting a clearer sound. So let's look at changing from an open chord, in this case a C major chord, to the bar chord, and we're going to change from C to F. And this is it's quite a simple change, and I think because of this one key that I mentioned earlier. So here's the C chord, and this is the way I play my C, and here's the bar chord. Now the key to getting a smoother change is this finger here. It's the 3rd finger, because this is like your anchor, because it stays in the same position when you play the C chord and then when you play the bar chord, that F chord, and obviously when you go back. All right, it's in the same position. You don't need to change it, you don't need to take it off, you don't even need to move it from where it is really. It can stay in exactly the same position right there. And I think this is the key, this 3rd finger here. This can really help you change between the 2 chords, because sometimes when you change from one chord to another, there's this tendency to take all your fingers off. But if you can see a finger that's in common between 2 chords, then keep that finger on the fretboard. So practice this back and forth. So C to F. Just practice this a few times. Now it's not a race. You can work on it nice and slowly. You know, you don't need to do it quickly because you can build up your speed over time. And the main thing, I think, as you're beginning this, is to make sure it sounds clear. You know, you don't want this sort of thing. Like that. You don't want that. You want it nice and clear, ringing out nicely. Now let's look at the C to the G. Now the G is on the 3rd fret because we have E, F, F sharp, G. This is G here. The bar chord shape goes on here. And we are still using that 3rd finger as an anchor. So if you look at the C chord, C, so what you're going to do now is take off the first 2 fingers and slide that 3rd finger up 2 frets. Then you can put the rest of the chord down like so. So let's try this going back and forward. You just do, there's your C, take off, slide up 2 frets, put the rest down. And again, slowly, you don't need to do it super quickly because you want to get used to moving, to transitioning between the 2 chord shapes. And it's one of those things that will take a bit of time because obviously taking those 2 fingers off is easy enough. But then sliding up, you want to make sure you don't go too quickly and go way past it, or so slowly that you kind of never really get there. The hand position for a bar chord, and let's start with the thumb. Now the thumb is usually directly behind the first finger on the at the back of the neck here, and you can see from this picture that I've got there, it looks like that. The first finger is covering obviously all 6 strings. You'll often see it in chord diagrams that the first finger, it kind of looks like it's completely flat, but it's not. It's kind of on its side, and if you look at my finger there, it's this part of the finger. It's not the flat part, but it's that side of the finger that is pressing on the strings on the fretboard. As for the wrist position, try not to be like this. Okay, try not to have it completely over here because it's impossible to play the chord. Try and have it a little bit back, and also try and have it a little relaxed. If you're kind of tensing, you'll feel some strain along here, which won't be too comfortable for you to play. Now your arm position, you don't want anything like this. You don't want to be leaning back. It should be, you know, it should be almost like a 90 degree, maybe a bit less. My maths was never that great. So you don't want something completely like that or too much like this as you're playing. And the other thing I found that helps me to play the course and to apply the right amount of pressure is by having my guitar quite close to me. I'm kind of pushing the guitar close to my chest, and it's helping. If I have it out like this, it's not so good, but I usually, excuse the microphone, I usually have it kind of pulled towards me as I'm playing. If you're still having problems pressing down the strings, you might want to think about changing the type of strings you have. Now you can get some ultra light gauge strings, some light gauge strings, and I've got a link down below to some strings that you could buy. Check it out. Okay, for the classic chord progression that I want you to use to practice going from C to F and to G, then click on the link right here. It'll take you to a great backing track of the C 12 bar blues progression. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. This is the F major chord shape, but it's also a G major chord shape. If I move it up 2 frets to the 3rd fret, it's an A at the 5th fret, it's B flat at the 6th, B, 7th, C, 8th, D, 10th. But so what, I hear you say? Well, the thing is, with this F major chord shape, there are a couple of really cool things you can do to make your strumming a lot more interesting. Let's have a look at what you can do. So we can do a bit of staccato strumming. That's a bit like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear we've got some short kind of stabbing sounds. The second thing we can do is a little kind of percussive type of strumming, and that's very simply like this. Just holding down the shape like that, but not pressing down. Third thing we can do is a little slide. So we can go, or so we can slide up the chord. And another thing we can do is a kind of a bassy, trebly strumming pattern. So those are a few things that you can do with the F chord shape, but not only that, but you can also combine those little techniques, and we'll look at those in a moment. But first, let's look at how to actually do them. Here's the staccato. So what you want to do is you want to hold down the chord. I'm holding down the chord, the F-shaped chord, on the 3rd fret. Sometimes it's actually easier to practice this shape when you play it a little bit higher up the fretboard. Now remember, higher is going this way. So I'm holding it down on the 3rd fret. So if I hold it down and I strum it, but then I release. Like that. And you can do it at different lengths. And you get that type of strumming. So and of course you can do it anywhere on the fretboard. So this is up the 3rd fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, back to the 3rd fret. Now the percussive strumming is something that, again, you're holding down the chord, but you're not actually playing it. You're not pressing down so that each string sounds. No. Kind of get the chord shape, but relax your grip like we were doing in the staccato type strumming. And you've got this. And the right hand is just doing simple up and down. But you can hear a little difference in the sound. Third technique is a kind of sliding up technique. So you can go from, for example, the G up to the A, which is at the 5th fret, and or so you're actually strumming each time you move up the fretboard. And another really good thing that you can do is to slide up to the next chord. So for example, if you're doing a chord progression that is D to A, so it's 4 bars of D, 4 bars of A, instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so D, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, what you could do is go D, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And one of my favourite types of strumming is the kind of a bassy treble sound. And so what you're doing is, again, if I'm playing this G, the F chord shape at the 3rd fret, the bassy notes, the low notes, would be the D and the G strings. So these two strings here. And the higher notes would be the B and the E, the second and first string. Something like this. I think that's a really good technique. Again, it adds so much more to your playing. And as I said, one of the things you can do is to combine the techniques. So what I want to do is I want to show you a 12-bar blues chord progression, my go-to practice chord progression. And I want to play all those techniques. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm doing the kind of bass treble strumming, and then when I do the treble part, I'm actually doing that staccato, that kind of reggae-ish type of playing. Like that. And you can hear there's lots of sliding, isn't there? There's sliding up and sliding down. And when you're doing this kind of sliding up and sliding down, you're not taking everything off, because that just would make it a little silly. And you know you're supposed to be holding down the chord to give you that sliding noise, that going up and going down. So let's try this 12-bar blues chord progression together. And the chord progression is on the screen. It's also telling you which fret to play the G chord, the C chord and the D chord for this. So the G is on the 3rd fret, C 8th fret and D on the 10th fret. Now it doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine, but you want to be trying to incorporate that type of playing. Now it is a process, it will take you a bit of time, so if you get it all wrong right now, don't worry about it. Keep going, keep practicing, keep trying it, and you'll get it right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could try that chord progression in G like we've just did, or you could play it in F. So instead of playing at the 3rd fret, the 8th fret and the 10th fret, you're playing on the 1st fret, 6th fret and the 8th fret. You could also play it in A, starting at the 5th, 10th fret, and then if you can squeeze it, I can't with this guitar, but you can play at the 12th fret, which will give you the E chord. And you can practice them with these chord progressions right here. These are some backing tracks using the 12-bar blues. Give them a go. Let me know how you get on. And thank you so much for watching today, and happy strumming. Hey, thanks for dropping by. What you're watching right now is a collection of helpful videos from my beginner guitar YouTube channel. If you want more, there are links down below. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming. What? Problems with bar chords? Need something to keep you working on them? Then give this classic 12-bar blues chord progression a shot. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to play a classic Elvis, classic Little Richard, and many more classic rock and roll tunes. We're going to look at the classic 12-bar blues chord progression in the key of C. And for the key of C, you're going to need 3 chords, C, F, and G. And the C chord we're going to play in the open position up here, like that. We're also going to use a C7 chord, which adds a little bit of tension to this progression, and it's absolutely fantastic, but it's optional. So as I said, the C is in the open position, but it's the F and the G chord that we're going to use an E-shaped bar chord. Now, if you're not sure how to play an E-shaped bar chord, in fact, if you're not sure how to play C or C7, there are some links down below for beginner guitar lessons. Not only are bar chords pretty tricky to form when you're getting started, but they're also quite difficult to transition from and to other chords. And after I've shown you this 12-bar blues chord progression, I'll give you a few tips on how to make the changes a little bit smoother. The 12-bar blues is a classic chord progression, and it forms the basis of so many classic rock songs, rock and roll songs through the years. The progression looks just like this, and you can see the C, the F, the G. There's also a C7 in there, as I said before, to kind of spice it up. However, you can play this chord progression without the C7th, but in my opinion, I think it sounds a little bit better. So I'm going to play this chord progression through just once using C, C7, and then the 2 bar chords of F and G. So I'll get back to you in a moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was a 12-bar blues chord progression, but just remember, when you're practicing this, keep the rhythm smooth, keep the rhythm constant. Don't speed up, don't slow down. Doesn't matter what kind of strumming pattern you're using. Remember, you're the rhythm guitarist and you've got to stay in time. And this is a tip for going from the C or the C7 to the F bar chord. So here's the C chord. Now what you're going to do to go to F is you're going to take off everything except the 3rd finger, because that's going to put you in position for the bar chord. So once you've got that, the rest of the chord can come down. And it works exactly the same when you go back to C from F. So take everything off except the 3rd finger, and then there you are. So when changing from C to G bar chord, you've got the C chord here in the open position. Now again, like with C to F, take everything off, but leave the 3rd finger there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to slide that up 2 frets. That'll put you in position for the G bar chord, like that there. The same thing applies going back down to C. You can take everything but the 3rd finger off, slide down 2 frets, and there you go. Of course, if you're comfortable playing the C chord, then you don't need to worry about keeping that 3rd finger on when going back from the G chord. So the end of the 12-bar blues chord progression, you're going from G to F to C. And the transition from G to F, the G bar chord, so here you are here at the 3rd fret. What you're going to do is, after you finish playing the chord, relax your hand, like so. It'll stop the sound of the chord, and then slide down 2 frets, and then apply pressure again to get the chord. And that, of course, will work, you know, if you're going up from F to G or back down again. Just relax your fingers and then slide up if you're going from F to G, or relax and slide down if you're going from G to F. If you can keep a finger on the fretboard when you're changing from one chord to another, no matter what the chord is, then do so. Especially when you're starting out. You really don't want to be taking everything off if it's not necessary. Because remember, as a beginner guitarist, you know, it's difficult going from one chord to another. So anchoring yourself with one finger, so for example, from the C to the F, you're using the third finger. That's a great way to keep you close to the fretboard. So don't take your hand off because you'll end up having to work harder. And secondly, it's just silly. As I said earlier, the 12-bar blues is a classic chord progression and used in so many different songs. And the version that you've got in this video is the same as the version used by Elvis on Hound Dog and Little Richard on Loose Seal, which is probably one of my all-time favourite rock and roll songs. There are links to those two songs, so why don't you check them out and play along with them. They're great fun. Or if you feel like doing a little bit more practice on bar chords, then check out this playlist here. Thanks for watching. Happy strumming.